All right, we are live. This is Rob here from Rob's School of Music on the season finale of this interview series we've been doing weekly since April. And I cannot believe my mind is blown. We're hanging out with the legendary Miss Nita Strauss.
Aw, thank you for having me on. I can't believe that you chose me for the finale. That's crazy. Thank you.
100%. Definitely. There's so much to unpack with you and the music and the signature stuff and the working with WWE and the fitness. So the first question I always try and ask is, we're a music school. Prior to the pandemic, we did lots of in-person lessons, and we would always put our students into bands and have them perform at street fairs or local restaurants and things. And one of the number one issues is that they get nervous. They're younger in their journey, and you've played some of the biggest stages ever. Do you have any tips for overcoming stage fright?
I guess the best tip for overcoming stage fright is kind of the most basic, and it's a boring tip and not something like that is like, well, kind of duh, but you have to practice. You have to practice so much that you're not thinking about what you're playing. So if you're coming up on your solo, let's say you have a young guitar player and the solo's coming up and the thoughts running through their head are like, okay, solo's in E minor. I'm going to start on the 12th fret, it's 4 bars. Okay, I better turn off my my boost, turn it up. Okay, the delay goes on, and you're like kind of thinking and on all this stuff. It's a recipe for disaster. I can't even play like that. If I start thinking like that, I will make gigantic mistakes. I've made mistakes like that in front of a lot of people because you just start thinking too much. So you really just have to get all of that out of your head, let your muscle memory take over. And the only way that you can make your muscle memory take over like that is a ton of practice, wood shedding, and not just sitting and practicing, but standing up, walking around, getting used to the movement of the guitar as you move, or the movement of your instrument as you move. And that's all I have to do.
Actually, I love that you said standing up, because so many of our students, they sit down and they get used to it, and they'll take the guitar and like angle it forward. And I'm always saying, like, when you stand up, like, you can't angle it forward. That's just not going to happen. So standing up is so important.
But not just standing up, the actual physical
Moving.
walking around. Like you mentioned WrestleMania, I think, when we were off the air. And my boyfriend Josh, he would laugh at me when I was practicing for that, because I would just walk around our couch like in sort of figure eights and like kind of leaning and bobbing and weaving like a weirdo, like, because I knew that I was going to be really animated and moving around a lot, and I didn't want to just be stuck in this one standing position playing this song. I wanted to have my muscle memory just comfortable. Like, if I want to lean back, if I wanted to bend forward, like wherever the guitar is, I wanted to have that muscle memory locked in.
Totally. That ramp that you had to walk down at WrestleMania, it looked like it was a million miles long, and you just looked so cool and collected and shredding the whole way while walking. Very cool.
Thank you.
So let's start at the beginning. Was there a record or a show you saw that you're like, ooh, I want to do that?
It was Crossroads.
Huh?
Yeah. So the movie Crossroads, which has inspired so many guitar players before me and so many after me, that was like the aha moment for me, seeing Steve Vai in Crossroads.
Yes, he was pretty epic in that movie.
Yes, the only movie where you root for like the total bad guy, the devil.
Right.
Ralph Macchio is cool the whole movie, and then you're like, F that
guy. I completely agree. I've had that conversation. I showed it to my son recently. He's 9 now. And I was like, you think one thing, but you just wait. You wait till that starts happening. He goes, that's awesome. I said, yes, that is
awesome. That's the
guy. Cool. So I had Ryan Roxie on for an interview a couple months back, and he was talking about the ritual of an Alice Cooper, the day in the life of a show. What's a day in the life of the show for you when you're doing that?
It's probably pretty similar to Ryan's. It's Groundhog Day over here, and I do see Ryan in the gym just about every morning. So we start our day pretty much the same way. I wake up, I go to the gym first thing. I'll either work out in our hotel, or I'll find a gym nearby, like walk, or if I usually won't take an Uber, because then it's like, you start getting this habit of like, okay, well, I'll take a $5 Uber, each way, this $10 a day. And then you get into like this whole thing of saving money on tour, and you're like, well, if I'm spending, $30, $40 a week on Ubers just to go work out, it doesn't work. But usually hotel gyms are really nice now, and I travel with a lot of stuff to sort of keep me in shape, resistance bands and adjustable dumbbells and that kind of stuff. So I'll get a good workout in first thing in the morning. And then I'll usually go back and work for a few hours. There's the music side to what I do and the sort of more entrepreneurial side. So merch company and fitness challenge, Patreon, the signature products, clinics, all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of emails. I do a lot of emails every day, and kind of just keeping up on all the business sides of what we're doing, ordering stock and, planning out for the next move, whatever the next move may be. We'll usually head to the venue around 4 or 5. And the first thing I do when I get to the venue at Alice shows is I hide a little care package somewhere in the venue. So I have a stash of stuff that I sign, like monster wristbands and 8x10s and guitar picks or like whatever. Each one's a little bit different. So I'll go hide that somewhere, and I'll post clues on my Instagram story where people can go look for it. We call it Finding Nita. So that's pretty cool. And then pretty much just go back, eat a super light dinner. I don't like to eat a lot before a show. I think like most people, you can't jump around and do what we all do if you're full of food. So if I eat, it'll be like something really light, chicken salad, protein shake, something like that. And then get on stage, get off stage. Oh yeah, it's a pretty boring day. Like I'm going through it like, is there anything more interesting I can add? And then, kind of the best part is usually we'll get to go out by the tour bus afterward and meet everybody, talk to everybody. Ryan and I, especially both spend a lot of time doing that just about every show. So it's always a highlight for me.
That's incredible. I think making yourself accessible in that way to fans, first of all, the care package in the audience is a brilliant idea and so sweet. And I'm sure whoever finds that each night is blown away by that. So that's really cool.
The coolest thing I have found about it actually is the amount of people that share it with other people that are looking. So, there's usually like 3 or 4 things in there. And you would think as human nature is that people would be like, it's mine. Like I keep all this stuff. And it's really, really cool to see, because they always tag me in the post when they find it. And they go, oh, I found it. And then there was like a little girl looking for it. So I gave her the wristband and I kept the autograph or whatever. And I think it really, for the most part, brings out a cool, nice, generous side of people as well.
Wow, that's even better. That's cool. I think the community of all of it as a musician, I think one of the things that I'm missing the most, everything being shut down from a music school standpoint, is our students, all different ages, and the parents of the students. It's like a little family, and I think music can bring people together, and it's really cool to see, even at the highest echelon of it, you're still doing something that's making a community. That's really special.
Absolutely. And I will say that this unprecedented, terrible, challenging year has really, I feel, made our community a lot stronger, because everybody is going through this simultaneous thing, which has never happened in my lifetime, not that anyone that I know is ever aware of. And it's something that we're all going through together that's uniting all of us. And, it's like this sort of shared human experience, and fans are missing shows and musicians are missing shows, and we're all sort of going through it together. And it's, people from Chile are connecting with people from Russia, who are connecting with people in Nashville, who are connecting with people in Ottawa, Canada, and they're, we're all sort of having this shared experience. And I get to see that a lot in my fitness challenge, Body Shred, and in my Patreon page too. We have these 2 communities which are really tightly knit. And it's all people going like, hey, I'm dealing with this like this. Does anybody have any tips for that? Hey, I'm trying to restring a Floyd Rose for the first time. Who knows how to do it? And they're getting advice from this community all over the world that you wouldn't normally meet, because we're all forced to kind of go online and socialize online. And I think that's kind of a beautiful side effect, if you will, of this awful year.
No, but you're right. You got to find that silver lining. There's definitely, an opportunity in all of the adversity. And I definitely agree, being able to connect, and just from where I've been getting the opportunity to sit here and hang with you, that might not have happened if everyone was out touring and everything like that. So as a guy who works with other musicians and teaching young people, to be able to highlight some of my favorite musicians and get to talk with them, I think that's a really special thing.
Totally. Yeah, it is. And my schedule has been so actually like I think more busy than ever during this time because, musicians were trying to find a way to pivot and make,
Right.
make a living other ways. Because most of us don't even have the skills to get a normal job. People go, why don't you just go get a regular job to go work? I was like, I don't literally like,
Yeah.
no, it's not that at all. I just like, I don't really know how to do anything else. Like the only things I know how to do are shut down. So, unless it's something like driving for Uber or whatever, which I think is an amazing backup plan for a lot of people, we're all just trying to find ways to pivot and do something else with this time. So I actually think this has been the busiest and most productive year that I've had in a long time, just not really doing the fun stuff that we all like to do.
Totally, totally. I get it. And what I'll do is when I repost the podcast of this and then repost this, I'll put the Patreon and all your links at the bottom so we can just let all the socials in one place. I love the entrepreneurial side of things. I think something that I'm always trying to instill in the people I get to work with is when I was growing up, I wanted to be Metallica. That was my goal. I was like, I'm going to be James, and my buddy James, ironically, is going to be Kirk, and we're going to go be Metallica. And as I progressed through life, and I realized pretty quickly that it's okay to not become the toppity top, but you can still find ways to sustain. And if you have a business mind and to be able to do that. And it's so cool to me that so many musicians are now branching out in a more public way and saying, well, no, I have this, I have that. And it's so cool to see a way to make it work using those skills, no matter what. I think that's very inspiring.
It's definitely different. It's different than I imagined my life being, when I was a young guitar player, just wanting to be Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or Marty Friedman or like any of my guitar heroes. It would have never occurred to me to need to know the prices of different blend of t-shirt. Like if I want to get a 50-50 blend, if I want to get a tri blend, if I want to get a 100% cotton, if I want 100% cotton, but I want it to be soft, if I want it to not shrink in the wash, like these are the things that like I now as an entrepreneur and musician need to know. Like the sort of like mundane nonsense, where can you get cheap 8x10s printed? How fast can you get them shipped and shipped out to somebody that's going to do fulfillment? Who does do the fulfillment? Do you do your fulfillment? Do you send stuff out yourself? Do you delegate part of it here and there? Like there's so much. And then, you get into the clinic side and you get into the lesson side, like what you do. I have an online lesson program that I do. And then, once you get into that, it's like, who's hosting it? How did they pay for it? Is it a recurring thing? Is it a one-time fee? Is it like all this kind of stuff? There's so many things that I just had no interest in when I started playing guitar. And still kind of have no interest in now, but it's part of what my job is as a full-time musician in a pandemic.
Very cool, though. I think that's definitely inspiring to hear you talk about it. I think opens the eyes to a lot of young musicians out there saying, oh, it's okay to know. And then I think it's important too to like, if you know that stuff, it can kind of protect you from some of the darker sides of the business and people taking advantage and, where the money is going and making sure the product that gets out to the fan is what you want it to be. And hands-on is the way to be 100%.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people don't go that route and a lot of people get taken advantage of. A lot of people overpay for their merch or, are paying, all these different fees or this and that. There's so many things that can go wrong if you don't know every aspect of your business. And, in a time like this, none of us, myself, you, anybody out there watching, you can't afford to be taken advantage of by other people. Everybody's trying to make a living. The people that are taking advantage of us are just trying to make a living, Right. So we all have to be on top of our game and on top of every aspect of what we do to stay afloat at this time.
Totally. The fitness side of things. So that's, my girlfriend is a singer. We've been doing music together for 8 years now, but she also worked as a fitness model and helped me lose a ton of weight, which sadly I put back on, but I'll get it off. That's what it is.
You're a very lucky guy. She sounds amazing.
Yeah, she's really cool. I think that when I was growing up, when you played guitar, if you couldn't be an athlete and a musician, which maybe is just where I was from, but it was sort of, if you're a guitarist, you're partying and you're this and that. And I think being not only a great musician, but being a role model with the healthy side of things and all that is just such a cool fit vibe to put out there to the world. Was the fitness always part of your story, or?
Oh, not at all. If you see
uh,
old pictures and videos of me, I was a mess. I was a complete mess. Like, I was definitely, growing up in Los Angeles, I was that hard partying, drinking all the time. It was real bad. Even my first year with Alice, like I was getting better at that point because I was like, okay, this is serious. Time to take things more seriously. But I mean, I was still drinking every day. I would still drink before shows, not so much that I couldn't get on stage, but I would still drink before every show and a lot after. And then in 2015, I got sober, and after that, I really just started taking everything a lot more seriously. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, and being sober sucks. Like, it's great now that I am, but the actual process of doing it is the worst. Like, I hated it. So I thought, I'm going to make this worth it, and I'm going to get in like amazing shape, and I'm going to finally like get my body where I want it, and get my health the way I want it, because I wasn't healthy and I wasn't happy. I wasn't super overweight or anything, but I wasn't healthy. And so I started working out a lot, sort of as a substitute. A lot of people, when they quit drinking, they find something else to replace that activity in their life. So instead of staying out late at the bar, I would get up early and lift the bar. And
I like that.
Sort of became like, I don't even want to use the word addicted, because it's not like that. Like, if I miss a day of the gym, it doesn't bother me. But it is sort of like that feeling. You chase that endorphin feeling of like, I had a great workout. You feel so accomplished. You start your day getting sweaty and taking good care of your body. And it makes you want to eat healthier and fuel your body better when you're in that mindset. So that's when I got more serious about fitness. And then a few years after that, after I lost actually 50 pounds, 50, so many people were asking me how I did it. And I was like writing, on my phone, these like super long Instagram comment responses, like, well, you could eat this and you could try this, and this is my coach, and this is how I work out, and this is the thing. And finally I was like, well, maybe I should just put out a program and make it something super affordable. I never wanted to like exclude anybody from it, because I think fitness should be for everybody. So I wrote an ebook. Along with one of my coaches, I wrote a workout that people can do from home, from anywhere, which has now come in very handy because I was just doing it in hotel rooms, but now it's nice to have something you can do from home. And we started doing the Body Shred Challenge, and we just finished the third one. Actually, I announced the results today. My winner lost 52 pounds in 3 months. Super happy, healthy. We promote complete positive body image, no unhealthy weight loss strategies, no shaming, no nothing, just cool rock and roll people that want to get healthier mentally and physically. And that has been a huge positive driving force in my life, because they get the benefit of this awesome community, but I get the benefit of it too. And I get to see people blossoming and getting healthier and feeling better and making friends. And it's that sort of community sense that we were talking about earlier. So it's changed my life in so many ways.
That's awesome. Again, that's super inspiring stuff. I mean, I remember we used to subscribe to Muscle and Fitness magazine, and I'm flipping through it. And actually, when I told my girlfriend I was talking to you, she's the worst musician, and she doesn't know any guitar players. But I was like, remember the girl from WrestleMania? And she's like, she's the one who's shredded. She was in the magazine. I'm like, yes. Yeah. So it's cool that you.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And it grows your brand too, which is really awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to get to talk about the things that I'm so passionate about to an audience that has zero idea who I am. Right. If I talk to a bunch of guitar players, they're like, oh yeah, it's Nita. Like, everybody pretty much like knows my whole story in the guitar community. But if I come into the fitness community, and I did a feature on bodybuilding.com, I was in Muscle and Fitness, the regular one, and Muscle and Fitness hers, and a couple of different publications in the fitness industry. And then it puts what we all love, this style of music, whether it's instrumental music, rock music, all this kind of stuff, it puts it into that audience, and that audience goes, hey, there's people that care about what I care about, being healthy and fit and taking good care of yourself. And then maybe now I'll go see a concert. Maybe I'll go buy a CD. Maybe I'll go, follow on Instagram or stream a song on Spotify. And so that really, it helps me, but it helps all of us in the end.
Yeah. Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm looking at my list here. Okay, I'm going to pivot and get into gear now. We're going to, it's
All
a
right.
weird fitness to gear.
These are my favorite things to talk about. I'm good.
Cool. My first guitar was an Ibanez RG760. I loved it to death. And a buddy of mine had an S model guitar, and I liked his better. So needless to say, I think your signature model is fantastic.
Thank you.
I've had a couple other Ibanez artists on here. I had Jake Bowen and Yvette Young. Both of them were also super cool. What was the process in designing your signature model?
So I, like so many other guitar players, have been designing my signature model in my head since basically I started playing guitar. So my first guitar was a Squier, and it was the black and white, Fender Squier. And the first thing I did was take the white scratch plate off and put a black one on. And so like, that was like literally first guitar before I even knew how to play anything. I was like, this is, I want to make it how I want to make it. And it's a terrible guitar, but like, but you're always sort of customizing things, and every guitar player on the planet, and anybody says that they don't think this is deluding themselves, which we're also good at, guitar players. But you get a new guitar, you're like, man, I love this. This is so great. And then you start playing it, you're like, if it only had a maple fretboard, or if it only had this pickup. And a lot of it is switchable. You can put your favorite pickup in, or you can swap the input jack to where you like it, or you can, if it was just a little bit more like this, or if the neck was just a little bit flatter, or if, there's a constant stream of what ifs before you get to your perfect guitar. So the Jiva, my signature guitar, is that guitar. It's the Goldilocks guitar for me, because I wanted African mahogany body. I wanted a quilted maple top. I wanted an ebony fretboard. I wanted a certain sound with the pickups, which I had gotten so close with DiMarzio pickups before, but I hadn't quite found the sweet spot between having a ton of attack, like a deactivator, and that sort of vocal, almost like singing quality of an Evolution. And so like I was getting there by using a deactivator in the bridge and an Evo in the neck, but they didn't quite sit where I wanted them to together. And they sound so different in different guitars and all of that. So when finally, I was an Ibanez artist for 10 years before my signature guitar came out. And when they finally, we sat down at lunch, we took a meeting, they made the official offer. I cried. And once I calmed down, my amazing A&R rep, Mike, was like, okay, well, here's some ideas for, here's like sort of a blueprint of what of the specs. And, you can just fill it out whenever you want. This sort of like, we have like a list you can check off, like, I want this body wood, this, neck, this, that. And so if you can get it done in the next couple months, just think about it. And I was like, we can do it right here. We'll do it right now on this table. And we sat down over sushi and we sketched out the Jiva, and nothing changed. There was not one single change from what we talked about in the restaurant. The guitar was exactly as I wanted it. The only compromise that I ended up making was to do the original one, the Jiva 10, in the Indonesian factory. And the reason, every guitar player wants the Japanese, the super, super high-end model, but I wasn't willing to compromise on it. The first one being something that a lot of people could afford, because I think it should be a good guitar that gets in a lot of good players' hands. And the same Indonesian one that is sold in stores is the same one that I used on stage. I don't have a special custom shop one. There's literally no difference whatsoever between mine and the one that you see in the stores. And that's important too. I think it's important that you stand behind the guitars that you put out. So that was the big compromise. And the Indonesian factory has such a bad rap from such a long time. The QC is amazing over there now. Like the Jivas that they're cranking out are stunning. I just got one I just got one of the new ones as a prize for the body shred winner, because the person that wins my fitness contest gets a Jiva. And I was looking, I was like, this is nicer than some of the ones I have. Like I almost want to send him one of mine and keep this one. So then the Jiva 10 has been out since 2018, has been a really, really cool success for Ibanez and for myself. And then this year in 2020, we put out two new versions, which are the Jiva Junior, the more affordable version, and Jiva X, which is my Japanese, finally, like the one that I have always dreamed of having. And actually, I literally have it right here next to me. For Jiva X, we ended up going with my let me get it, first ever color scheme, which is like the black on black on black, as sort of like a nod to my first guitar.
So cool. So cool.
So yeah, that is, and then I guess a couple more of the interesting factors about it. The inlay is kind of unique because it has a heartbeat, and the spikes in the EKG lines correspond with the normal fret markers. So you have 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, and so forth. But the cool thing about it, and now it's funny, and now I'm giving you my clinic speech, which I haven't done in a long time.
That's good. That's good.
Cool thing about it is that the higher up you get on the fretboard, the faster the heartbeat gets, which is kind of a cool thing. Like, I could not have designed it that way. It just goes with the dots. But I love that you get like that quicker heartbeat when you get up to where the shredding happens.
Yeah.
It tends to go up. It's got luminescent side dots here. So you charge it up with an LED light like the one that I have going, or you can even use the LED on your phone, like the flashlight on your phone. Charge these up so you can see at night. They're called luminlays. So if you're on a dark stage, like I am 90% of the time with Alice, that is a total lifesaver as well. I'm trying to think of anything. They do come, the Jiva 10 and Jiva X both come with my signature DiMarzio pickups, the Pandemonium. And so that is sort of like, for me, the big factor of like, this is what really, really makes it mine and unique and sound like me, is that sort of, I think we went through one design revision. There were no changes made to the Jiva, and there were 9 of the pickups, like 9
Wow.
made. So we just kept working at it and working at it and working at it. And now I think they're perfect. I really do.
I'd say, the pickups are the part that drives me the craziest, because there's so many pickup options and cycling different ones in and out. It's not just like changing strings. It's a process. So that's always fascinating to me when someone's designing a signature pickup, like how long it takes to make that happen. But that's so cool.
I was on tour. We were on the Deep Purple tour with Alice, and my poor tech, Brian, like, 'cause I wanted to test them on stage. I didn't want to test them like, I didn't trust my ear in the dressing room. Like, I want to hear them live on stage in my in-ears and like really hear them how they go. My poor tech was changing pickups once a week. Like, so I would play them for 2 shows, and then I would sit down, I'd write an email to, Larry and Steve over at DiMarzio, and I was like, okay, this is great, but it's a little bit too high end, and they go, okay. So, a few days later, they'd overnight something new to the next stop on the tour, and then poor Brian, I would just bring it to him like, I'm sorry. St. Brian Satia, my tech, never complained once. He just, okay. He swapped them out, and that was, I think that's the best thing to do, is trial by fire. How do you know what it sounds like at a low volume? You need to crank it.
100%. Totally agree. Yeah. I think it's cool too, and very considerate of players of all stages in their journey, to make the first one that a little more affordable Indonesian one. And I think the stigma and this sort of headstock snobbery, it really is an outdated concept, because I think stuff coming out from all over Asia is a lot better than it used to be.
Totally amazing. I was doing a stream with my Patreons a few days ago, so I have a bunch of guitars here right next to me. This one, I think this is, what is it? I can't remember. The Silver Wave is the finish, but I can't remember the exact model number. I grabbed this off the wall at George's Music in Pennsylvania when I had a clinic there. And I was like, I love this guitar. Like, what's the story on this? They're like, this is like a $500 guitar. Like, and I was like, really? Even my mid-range guitar is a $1,500 guitar. My Jiva X is like, I think $32.99. Like, so I have expensive taste in guitars. This $500 guitar is gorgeous. I play it exactly stock. I didn't even change the pickups. I took it, I played it on stage that night for the first night of the Alice Hailstorm tour. I didn't change a single thing about it, and I love it. And it just kind of goes to show you, like, I love that term headstock snobbery, because it doesn't mean anything now. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It doesn't matter who designed it or where it's built. All that matters is that it plays well. And this little $500 S series plays amazing.
That's so cool. That's like, especially around this time of year, that's a conversation I have with parents of my, my elementary and high school age students. They want to get them a gift, and they're like trying to just go right to the top. And I'm like, hey, if you want to do that, that's cool, but you don't have to. Like, don't stop thinking like you want to think and trust you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so this one is, I always phrase it incorrectly, so I'm trying my best to get the words in the right order.
Okay.
I would say that legit nearly 60% of our students are female girls. And I think that's so incredible. I personally, some of the young girls that I work with are blowing my mind with how great they are already. And I'm so excited to see how far they take the journey. Being a female artist in a industry that can be a jerk to all genders, do you have any tips for a young female musician stepping out into this world?
Well, first of all, that was really nicely phrased. So
That's the best I've done. That's why this is the season finale. I can't do it any better.
Really nicely phrased. Much nicer than what's it like being in a girl in a rock band, which is how it's usually phrased.
And that's so ignorant. I don't.
Best advice for girls navigating this tricky world of being a girl in a band. I mean, honestly, my advice for girls is the same as my advice for young dudes. Like, it really is, and it holds true for both. So I'm just going to give it for both, but it really applies for both. And that's, there are always going to be people that doubt you, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter how great you are. I was just having this conversation this morning with Josh that, you know, you take a band like Metallica, you know, we were just talking about Metallica, the biggest rock band that has ever existed, the biggest metal band that has ever existed in the history of metal bands. And they put out something new and people trash talk it all over it. You know, if Stairway to Heaven came out today, people would be going just complaining and whining, and YouTubers, you know, and the blabbermouth comments and all the stuff. Like, you can't do anything. You can't please everybody, you know, not in this day and age. So you need to not focus too much on pleasing everybody and not focus too much on the naysayers and the negativity that's out there, and focus on working as hard as you can, performing as best as you can. Always be early, show up ready to play, you know, don't be asking a lot of questions when you get there. You know, what is this part? What is this chord? What is anything? Like, show up super prepared, always be 15 minutes early, you know, always be the most professional, the easiest to deal with, you know, and that, you know, being easy to deal with is, it's kind of important for a girl, you know, because maybe that's one place where I see there's like still a little bit of a stigma, as, you know, you don't want to have people going, oh, she's on her period or something. Like, you know, but for guys and girls, you know, showing up on time. I keep saying on time because on time is so important. Being early is so, and being super, super professional. And also on the flip side, not letting the, you know, I don't like the haters, you know, not letting the negativity get to your head, but also not letting the accolades get to your head, because there's a lot of people out there that are gonna say, like, once you start getting some notoriety and you start getting good and getting your name out there, there's going to be people saying some crazy stuff. You're the best guitar player in the world. No one has ever been better than you. And like, if you start believing that, nothing good can happen. Nothing good comes from believing that you're the best and you can never improve and you can never get better and you can never grow as an artist. So equally as important to shutting out the naysayers is shutting out people that will just tell you that you don't need to progress and that you're already good enough. You always have to get better. You always have to progress. You always have to be better in any way that you possibly can. I
love that. That was perfect. And you're definitely right. Like, it's universal. I know plenty of dudes who are on their period too. So, I mean, it's definitely a universal, we all have bad days, but no, that was awesome. Very well said. Thank you.
Ryan Roxie will be the first one to admit that sometimes there are guys in our band that have their periods.
I see one of my students on here. He's your biggest fan. His name is Jeremy. So,
hi, Jeremy.
Yeah, he'll love that. That's very cool. When I started doing these interviews, he's like, "You got to get Nita." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know if I can. I don't know." And then here we are. So that's awesome.
Definitely.
Okay, here's another one of my big questions that I phrased a little better. A lot of our guitar students push back on learning music theory because they have this predetermined reality that stuff's not important for guitar players. And there's no right or wrong answer to that, but what is your take on that?
I think that theory, I think a lot of people don't learn it because it's hard. It's confusing. And I didn't learn it until I was, gosh, 20 or 21, and I wanted to learn it, but I tried so hard to learn it and I did not get it. I didn't get it at all. And like, to me, it was like algebra. Like, you're in school and like and everyone else is getting in. The teacher's like, what do you this A equals this, and you're like, I don't get it. Like, how does this? And then as a guitar player, you go, I don't need any of that. I can make it sound good just by what's in here. Like, I don't need any of that math. And then where did I learn it from? Frank Gambale, Modes No More Mystery is where I finally got it from, and it clicked. And I was like, oh, so if you start the next one at the thing, then it becomes the same thing. They're like, the thing. Like, and like, even if you ask me right now, as like, as somebody that has actually taught this, like I have a whole, I think it's like a 45-minute lesson on it in my guitar course. I still would have a hard time articulating exactly how the theory, of each modes and how they go into each other. But I think as a guitar player, if you want to get to that, that better level where you can improvise more fluidly and you can just sort of play and let the notes flow without thinking about it, at least learn the very basics, learn how the scales can move into each other so you can move in and out in between modes. And then if you want to forget it because your muscle memory will have it.
Right.
Like literally right now, if you said, sit down and play, a C Phrygian, I would have to really think about it. But if I was going to slide into it from somewhere else, I could get into it and I could play it. If I'm going to play all the modes up and down the neck, I can play them just fine. So I think most importantly, just learn it and get the scale patterns in your hands, let your muscle memory get it. And then if you don't want to keep constant, this is just my opinion, I'm not a teacher, but I guess I am sort of a teacher now, but I'm not a teacher. I didn't go to music school. I didn't have any music lessons, but for what my opinion is worth, at least just learn it and have it in the arsenal. And then if you don't want to refer to the actual note of it, and go like, okay, it's like people ask me sometimes, what is your favorite scale? I go, who has a favorite scale? They all work together. It's like asking, like, I don't even know what it would be, what the equivalent would be like. They all work together. It's like one big harmonious hippie thing, So I think just learn it, get the muscle memory, have it, be able to move between modes seamlessly, and then don't stress about it.
I have to tell you that I have asked that question to over 30 people, and your response was by far the most in line with my teaching philosophy. Okay. So you just made my day.
Oh, I love that.
Within our school.
How do you say it? I'm curious.
I'm sorry?
What is your teaching philosophy about the modes?
So for me, we have different teachers at the school, and our whole style is basically when someone, similar to fitness, we try and get to the why. So if someone wants to learn to play guitar, we want to get, okay, let's get to the core of it, the root of it, and then sort of develop a custom tailored program to their wants and desires and learning style. Mm-hmm. And if someone wants to go like way down the theory hole, I have a guitar teacher for that. Yeah. But for me, like, I think muscle memory and feel is so important. And same thing. If you ask me to go into great detail as to what makes Mixolydian different than Lydian, I have to think about it.
You have to think about it. You know it, but it's like you have to really think.
Because I can't articulate the words. But to me, if I think of modes like moods almost, and the way it's making you feel, and I'm like a big feel guy. Like my favorite thing, notes are like the top, but it's like the roof, and then a roof without the walls, and the plumbing, the electricity is just this weird half triangle floating through space. So all the other intangibles, the feel and timing and articulation and all that stuff, I think that truly fleshes out music as this tangible thing. And that's just the way I do it. But a lot of what you said just hits right to my core. So very cool.
Hey.
Yeah. And I get like who was I talking? I was talking to Mark Lettieri, and he was just like vomiting out like heavy theoretical stuff. I'm like, Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I
I
love
can
that.
hang.
Yeah, I like listening to people do that because it keeps me sharp. But then sometimes, like I bought Vi's book, Videology, whenever it came out a year or two ago, and I was
Yep.
so excited. Like I pre-ordered it the day he posted about it, and I was, I waited for like 2 months for it, and I was like, this
Yep.
is amazing theory for guitar players. And I got it home, and I cracked it open, and I was like, I was reading it, and it's like I was texting pictures to my best friend, my keyboard player, Kat, who went to Berkeley. I was like, "What is this word?" She's like, "I don't know." Like nobody knew some of these words, and it kind of bummed me out. And I was like, why doesn't somebody put this in an understandable format for guitar players that didn't go to music school? Because I had no formal instruction. I didn't have any teachers growing up. I learned from watching DVDs, Rock Discipline, Yngwie
Hmm.
Play Loud, Marty Friedman, Melodic Control, like, that kind of stuff. So I don't have any frame of reference for what this is. And that was sort of the jumping off idea point for maybe I should make a guitar course, because I can put it in the most layman's term, because I'm the most layman guitar player that there is. I don't read notation. I don't have any formal instruction at all. Like I'm a, guitar player's self-taught guitar player. So I can probably put it in a way that people that know nothing about the theory part will understand. And that was sort of the impetus for creating my course, Rock Guitar Fundamentals.
That's so cool. I'm telling you, it's so in line with everything I'm doing over here. I mean, I got that vibe book too. I pre-ordered it, same story. And I was like, wow, he has a lot of cool illustrations in here.
Yeah, this
That's
is next.
that's where I'm gonna leave it.
I have not opened it once since the day I got it, and I don't like that about myself, because I feel that I should have challenged myself to get through it. But I've got t-shirts to order. I've got other stuff going on. At some point, I do plan to sit down and get through that book.
Honestly, if I was at the school right now and it wasn't snowing, it literally would be right here on my desk in a pile of other books that I mean to look at. But
Yes,
I got lessons to book.
we got to eat.
Wow, that's what it is. That was so cool. I love that answer. How did I want to talk about you playing at the Rams games, because I think that's incredible. But I think a big question for a lot of musicians coming up is how do you get these type of gigs? Obviously, you're incredibly talented. That's a big part of it. And you're a nice person and you can hang, and that's also important. But like, how do you get the Alice gig? How do you get the Rams gig? How do you get the WrestleMania gig?
I think all of those things come with experience and setting yourself apart from the crowd, and putting yourself in a situation experience is the key. I've been touring pretty much full time since I was 16, and I would take any gig, any pay, any style of music for years. I mean, I played so many gigs where like I was paying out of my pocket, for the amount of gas to drive, 3 hours to a show to go and play with some band that no one ever heard of again, and I was rehearsing with tons of different bands. I was recording with tons of different artists, and like I would take any gig that I could possibly get just to get experience. And what that did for me, from playing my first show at 13 to starting touring at 16 to by the time I was 19, 20, I was like a super seasoned guitar player, like much more so than a lot of people my age, because I had this relentless drive of like, I'll try that. I'll do anything. I will do like, pop, funk, rock, metal, death metal. I went straight from a deathcore tour in Europe, with Despise Icon and Architects, and I was playing in a band called As Blood Runs Black, straight into a stadium tour with Jermaine Jackson in Africa, like wow. Literally in the space of 2 weeks. And like that was like my late teens, early 20s. Like I would literally go on any tour for any amount of money. Like, I got back from that European tour, this deathcore, death metal tour I was on, and I found out that I was only getting paid the $10 a day per diem that I had made on the tour. I wasn't getting anything after that. Like, which I found out after the fact. That kind of sucked. Taught me a very valuable lesson: get a contract. But each one of those things was an amazing learning experience. Going straight from that into Jermaine Jackson. Playing Michael Jackson songs and Jermaine Jackson solo songs and Jackson 5 songs, which like was totally out of my wheelhouse as a 19-year-old shred kid from Santa Monica, California. Like I had no frame of reference of that style of music, but I just threw myself in wholeheartedly and just went for it. And the drive to just say, yep, absolutely, I can do that, is something I think a lot of people sort of take for granted in this day and age. And I guarantee you, if when they called me up for that Jermaine Jackson gig when I was 19 and they said, can you play funk? And I was like, well, I'm not really sure. If you can give me some examples, I could sit with it for a couple of days and I'll see if it's something I would be good at and I'll get back to you and let me know. I guarantee you they would have never called me. But because I went, yep, absolutely. When do you want me there? What time would you like me to be there? I would love to be there. Showed up, 15 minutes early, like you must. Played all the songs properly, got the gig, and 2 weeks later I was on a plane to Senegal. Wow. Because you just say yes. You say yes, and then you do whatever it takes to make that yes a reality. You can't just say yes and then, bluff your way through it and fake it. You have to say yes and then work as hard as you possibly can to make that yes true. If you say, yep, I can do it, you better show up ready to do it. And I've showed up ready a lot of times. And if you show up ready enough times and you perform, your ass off every single time and you give the best show and, you're making sure people are walking away talking about that guitar player on stage, that is what leads to, the stepping stone of bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger gigs.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think that's, hustle. Go out there and do the work. Yeah, that's some people, Instagram entrepreneur culture has made that word not as cool as it should be. But I think that's a big part of life, do the work.
Oh, yeah. Doing the work, showing up, loading your own gear. Like, I take a lot of pride that, in all my club band days, with even my solo touring band now, like, I don't expect people to carry my gear for me. I don't expect, as a young guitar player, if you're, especially as a girl, you're showing up going, can somebody help me get my 412 out of the car? Like, it's already a red flag. Like, show up, carry your own shit, be prepared, be professional, and make sure that you are the person, like, if you're like looking for like those Rams gigs, the Alice Cooper, WrestleMania, that kind of stuff, you have to stand out. You have to stand out on stage. And my goal was always like, I want people to leave the show going, who was that guitar player? And that's still my goal now. Like, even when it's my show, even when it's my name on the marquee, I still want people to walk out going like, who was that? Like, anybody that didn't know who I was before, I want them to go back and look up who that guitar player was. And I think that's something that, you talk about the Instagram culture, the influencer culture, the YouTube culture. People get very complacent just sitting and playing guitar because, gosh, these YouTubers, they make an amazing living, much, much better living than most touring guitar players, and you sit at home and it's hard work. I'm definitely not taking anything away from that. But you're not, it's not cold. You're not tired. You're not, driving 9 hours to get to the next show and showering at a rest stop, like all that kind of stuff. That real world hustle and grind and experience, like that goes a very, very long way.
Completely agree with you. And hopefully that will inspire future generations, just to just do the work. That's really cool.
Yeah. There's no substitute for work. No one will do it for you.
Right. That's again, drawing the parallel between music and fitness. You can't buy it. You have to do the work. It's just that simple.
Exactly. I think that's what drew me to fitness, is like, no one can do it for you. No one can do your push-up for you. You have to do your push-up. You have to do it. And yeah, maybe people can get plastic surgery or better coaches or better this, but no one can outwork you. I grew up in a family with a lot of money, around kids that had a lot of money. And I saw that happening constantly. My mom was a teacher at a small private school. And so we didn't have hardly anything growing up, but I was around the Van Halen kids and, the girl whose dad invented the Xerox machine and like this kind of stuff, Harrison Ford's kids and this and that were all in my school. And I was watching them all get Range Rovers for their 16th birthday and, this kind of stuff. And by this point, I was already going on little DIY tours, and it sort of drove me and fueled me even more, because I was like, well, they're getting a Range Rover, but they can't play guitar like I can.
Right.
Like they can do all this kind of stuff, but they're not going out and playing shows. Like, I was going out and playing shows just about every weekend when I was in high school, and none of those kids with Range Rovers are doing that. So that was kind of like what drove me. I was like, you know what? They might have all these things, but they will never, ever outwork me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's inspiring. Thank you. I have two more parts. I have my rapid fire questions and my desert island questions. So I asked this question to a guitar player. I won't say who it was, but his response, I say, if you're on a desert island, you can have one guitar and one amp and one pedal. And then he pulled out a 59 Les Paul and a Dumble and a Klon. So no, it was Zach Myers from Shinedown, actually.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
He's super cool. We like watches and we like sneakers and we like PRS. So we hit it off very well, but that was the flex of all flexes, but that doesn't mean it's the right answer. So if you were on a desert island, what would you be your guitar, amp, and pedal?
I'll take my Jiva X, and I'll take it's a cheating pedal, but I'll take the Boss GT1000 because it's all pedals in one. The original GT1000 with the expression pedal, not the GT1000 core, which would be more convenient for the island, but I'll take the one with the expression pedal. And it doesn't really matter what you put it through. I'll just like, how about like a big PA?
Okay. Yeah, no wrong answers.
Which is actually my exact setup at the Rams games.
Yeah.
Yeah, no amp. GT1000 direct into a gigantic PA. WrestleMania too.
Wow.
Yep, no amp.
Sounds great then. My first fancy multi-effects thing had a Boss GT3. This is like 1998 or something.
Now they're on the 1000, like the gigantic.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
You gotta check it out. The 1000 is pretty amazing.
Awesome. All right. So in my grand finale of my season finale is a series of rapid fire questions, one thing or the other, all music related.
Okay.
It's not a ton of questions, but there's no right or wrong answer. You don't have to defend your answer, but you can if you want.
Okay.
All right. So humbucker or single coil? Okay. Les Paul style or Strat style?
Question ever. Sorry.
That was a very quick answer. I like that confidence. That was good.
Easy. I'm not really. Anyway, humbucker. Yeah.
Les Paul style or Strat style guitar? Meaning
Strat.
like a big. Okay. If it were to be a Gibson, would it be a Les Paul or an SG?
Pass.
Okay. If it,
I do have an SG actually. I do have an SG from a long time ago, so I goes that.
Okay. If it was a Fender style guitar, Strat or Tele?
Pass.
Okay. And then okay. Oh, well then these rest of these you're gonna pass on these too, probably.
No, I won't do it. Go ahead. I'll answer normal.
If it was a bass guitar, would it be a P bass style or a jazz bass style?
I'll take a P bass.
Okay. And then if it were to be an acoustic guitar, Martin or a Taylor?
A Taylor.
Okay.
I did. Dad had a baby Taylor, and I liked playing his baby Taylor. So.
Cool. The next one is an amp one, but your shirt answers that, so I'll skip that. And then for effect, it's just Marshall or Fender, which it's a tough question too, because they really do kind of different things, but
very different things. Well, it's a tough question, but for most guitar players, it's probably an easy question because I think every guitar player has a strong preference between one or the other.
Yes, I agree. Effects, delay or reverb?
Delay.
Fuzz or overdrive?
Overdrive.
Phaser or chorus?
Ooh. Phaser for one for the right riff. I'll take a phaser, but I wouldn't use it very much.
Okay. That is the right answer and perfectly phrased. Phaser in the right place is perfect. Too much phaser is not perfect.
I'll put a little chorus every once in a while on a lead, but I'll take a phaser, but not use it very often.
If I put on a chorus pedal, I just start doing Zach Wild squealies, and that just makes me feel happy. Yeah, that's its purpose.
Anyway, even without the chorus.
What do we got here? Okay, Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Beatles for the songs, the Stones for the attitude.
I like that. Within the Beatles, John or Paul?
Paul.
Okay, that's also the right answer, I think. Zeppelin or Floyd?
Zeppelin.
Okay, and then last one, in the realm of Pink Floyd, is it Dark Side or The Wall?
I don't know anything about Pink Floyd.
Really?
No,
Oh,
nothing. Alex makes fun of me. Everybody makes fun of me, but I don't know anything about Pink Floyd. No.
Well, you should.
I am aware. Yes, I've been told. I have a lot going on.
Yeah, honestly, like for me, Zeppelin is one of my top 5 favorite bands of all time, and I just think it's digestible, and the riffs are iconic, and you can't do anything wrong. But like if I'm like doing work and I just want my brain to take music in, but not like be analyzing what's happening, I can put on pretty much any one of the Pink Floyd records and just have it be like, it's like, I love Nine Inch Nails. I think it's like that, but like proto Nine Inch Nails, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll tell you a funny story since we've been sort of lacking in funniness. I'm usually quite funny. But I did, and this is the part where all the adults watching this are just going to roll their eyes and go, I don't like her anymore. But I was on stage with Alice, and we don't rehearse as a band. We just come in and do long sound checks for a couple of days before a tour. And this is even when we're starting a new tour and adding a bunch of new stuff. We just come in and like hang out on stage for a few days and like run the set several times. But we don't ever do formal rehearsals, like formal tour rehearsals. I've never done one once with him.
Wow.
So we were getting ready for a tour sometime, maybe 2016, 17. And we were going to do, I forget, we were going to do My Generation, I think, by The Who. No, I can't remember. No, we did do that. It was a different song. But then they said at the last second, they said, we want to do Pinball Wizard. And I was like, great. That sounds great. And they're like, okay, let's start it. I was like, I need to learn it. What do you mean you need to learn it? They're like, haven't you seen the thing? All the stuff. I was like, no, what are you guys talking about? And they all had like this huge frame of reference. There was this big discussion going on about, this song about Tommy, which I've still not seen. And they're like, you haven't seen that? And it was like this huge, it's the same thing with The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, all this kind of stuff. It's like this whole frame of reference that playing in a classic rock band, I do not have. And it's like being the only one that wasn't invited to the party. And Alice was so horrified. I thought he was going to send me home, like, go watch the room and go watch Tommy right now. But he was like, who even are you to be standing here with me telling me that you don't know this like incredibly important piece of music history? So that's how I always feel when people ask me about Pink Floyd. Like, I don't know. I have some history work to do, I guess.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've never seen Tommy either.
Good. So I knew that. Yeah.
I have some work too.
Why would you?
Yeah. And honestly, I like Pink Floyd's music, but sitting through The Wall, the movie, I can't do that. And I've never put it with Dark Side and Wizard of Oz either. I just like some songs. So you're okay.
Okay, good. That makes me feel a little better. Thank you.
100%. Yeah, you're fine. Well, those are my questions. This has been so cool.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, and thank you for letting me be the finale. I feel very special.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. This is, when I was reaching out, and Josh has been super cool writing back to me and stuff. So thank you. And you guys stay safe. Have a wonderful holiday season. Hopefully the world will be okay soon. And then shows will happen and NAMM will happen and everything's going to be cool.
I feel very, very positive that it will. And I'm looking forward to meeting you down the road and hopefully meeting a lot of you guys watching down the road, and keeping in touch with everybody. If you guys want to hang out on social media, I'm Hurricane Nita, and I'd love to chat with you guys on there.
Awesome. And then I'll put all the socials and the links for the Patreon and everything in the podcast, which will go up later on tonight.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Nita. Thank you so much. Stay safe and be well.
Thank you. Be safe in the snow.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.